Good evening. This mic thing is new for us, but I don't have a gavel, but I'm gonna call the meeting to order. We're gonna start with. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Roll call, Jill.
Jeremy McCart,
Here.
Aaron Adcock,
Here.
Roseanne Bozak, Travis Dunlap,
Present.
Gordon McCormick,
Here.
Michelle Watkins. Here. Bernie Paparad.
Here. Approval of minutes, July 31st, 2024.
Second.
Any discussion?
I have one correction on there. I believe that's what we discussed, the Taco Bell. The state of Indiana driver entrance plan. And it may say yes, my answer was no. Site plan. Oh, yeah.
We'll address that next.
That definitely would present their motion.
Okay,
They need to amend their motion.
who made the motion to approve the minutes? Roseanne, would you be willing to amend your motion to include the edit of Gordon's negative recommendation?
Chris Sullivan, my motion to approve after editing Mr. McCormick's motion.
You accept?
Second.
Any more discussion? Roll call, Jill.
Bernie Paparad,
Yes.
Roseanne Bozak.
Yeah.
Travis Dunlap,
Yes.
Michelle Watkins, Gordon McCormick,
Yes.
Aaron Adcock,
Yes.
Jeremy McCart.
Yes. Approval of minutes, August 5th, 2024.
Motion to approve.
Any discussion? Roll call, Jill.
Bernie Paparad,
Yes.
Roseanne Bozak,
Yes.
Travis Dunlap,
Yes.
Michelle Watkins,
Yes.
Gordon McCormick,
Yes.
Aaron Adcock,
Yes.
Jeremy McCart.
Yes. Communication bills and expenditures. For the officers, committee and staff. Shannon, do you have anything for us?
No, thank you.
Attorney Patton?
No.
Gordon?
No.
So the next thing on the agenda is public hearing. Attorney, did you have something you wanted to speak on prior to opening?
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Todd Lee, I'm the attorney for Provident, and we were, of course, at the last meeting, and there were 90 minutes of comments and concerns, some from the commission, some from the public. We heard those and we're taking a pause, if you will. So we have not noticed the public hearing for tonight. We want to continue to modify our concept plan in response to the concerns that we heard. For example, in the proposed ordinance, our buildings were going to be 120 feet or significantly reducing that. The setbacks were 50 feet, I believe. We're increasing those. So we're trying to respond to the concerns. And what we would like to do is have a community meeting. That was one of the things that was suggested to us as well. So we were criticized for moving too fast. We've taken heed of that. And so we want to take a pause, have that community meeting, and then we'll work with staff to notice up a public hearing. Perhaps in October, and our goal is to have this community meeting perhaps the first week of October. So October 1st, 2nd, 3rd, that's a target date. We're still working on details, and we don't want to get out ahead of ourselves on what we're going to show in our concept plan to work with the ordinance that you're going to ultimately adopt that would allow for data centers if that's the board and town council's choosing. In that regard, there are some things that need to change, in my opinion, in the ordinance as well, the proposed ordinance. So I've asked to work with Attorney Patton, and I've going to suggest to him several modifications to that proposed ordinance that was drafted, and in that regard, hopefully reach some restrictions that will be more in tune with what our concept plan when we get there will show. So nothing for us tonight because we don't have a public hearing, and we hope to have one in mid to late October. But again, we have to work with staff and frankly you, because that would be a special meeting. So we would respectfully request that you continue us to a date uncertain, which means that we would have to give notice both in the newspaper and the individual certified mail notices to the property owners that are interested parties pursuant to your ordinance.
So we're both because ours will changing. So right. No, if it's the wish of this board to allow that continuance and continue these public hearings to another date, I would make a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second,
Any discussion?
I can't say we'll be ready for a vote or anything by the end of October. It's a pretty serious issue. We have a lot of information to go over. My biggest concern, of course, many, obviously, the special use district is right in our code book. We can't create a special use district for future planning. It's right in there. Special use district protects what's already
You're
there.
back here.
I'm sorry.
Can you hear you?
I'm sorry. The special use district. In our code book, a special use district cannot be created for future development. It's as clear as day. All that does is protect what's already there.
I would agree. I would agree with you that you may not be ready to make a decision at the middle or end of October. But what I'm proposing is that we would have the hearing at that point in time. Then you would receive our evidence. You would again hear from the public. And at that point in time, if the commission feels that they have enough information, they can make a decision. If not, you can continue the case at that point in time. But I'm not asking or forcing you to take a vote at any particular time. I'm just suggesting that we would like to move forward with the hearing so that you can get the evidence from both sides.
No more.
We already did.
We're gonna do this once.
They're not prepared.
You're not prepared. I already did this. So I know what it's here. Okay.
I just want to make sure. Roll call, Joe.
Roseanne Bozak, Travis Dunlap,
Yes.
Michelle Watkins,
Yes.
Gordon McCormick,
Yes.
Aaron Adcock,
Yes.
Bernie Paparad,
Yes.
Jeremy McCart.
Yes. Thank you very much.
I really feel we need a workshop before this meeting with information.
No, we could hear what the road is with voted on. We could hear what we voted on.
So what was just voted on is Attorney Leith was requesting to move this potentially till next month.
We want to hear what he said. We didn't hear what you guys voted on.
Okay, so the motion was made to continue this until next month.
We don't want it.
Okay. I understand that, but every situation that comes before this board, we need to evaluate and not make emotional decisions.
How about let's not motion for the people in this town want.
I understand your concerns.
You work for us, right?
What's the matter with you people?
You can settle it today and say, no, we're not rezoning it. Simple. You can settle it today and say, no, we're not rezoning it. If you rezone for them, they will own this town.
Okay.
They got billions of dollars, they got
Sir, here's the deal, okay? A motion was made, it passed, it's gonna move, okay?
Take a motion to vote it down.
You're gonna be removed from this if you continue to speak out of turn, okay? I'm gonna let you know that right now. Right now, it's not open for public comment, and we're gonna move forward with the agenda that we have. At the end, there will be a good of the order, and if you'd like to speak during that time, I will allow you that time.
It's too late.
Okay. Old business. Martin and Naya, is he present? Joe, is Martin and Naya not coming?
He said he was, and he was made aware of it. The meeting was here.
Okay, we can attempt to call him one more time, and then we're almost there anyways. Under new business, I have review of bonds, maintenance guarantees, letters of credit. From what I can see on this, there's nothing new in regards to that,
No.
but we haven't had one. Is there any questions on there? The last thing under new business is culverts, drainage, code ordinance, inspection and enforcement. I believe our building commissioners, a few things you'd like to address.
Yes. The ordinance as it stands right now in section 433, the responsibility of landowner. There's a section there that needs to be omitted that we were not able to find the reference to this anywhere. It reads, it shall be the duty of each party to ensure the culvert or drain is of sufficient capacity and in the proper location to comply with section 440 and section 441 above. And there is no such thing in there as that reference. So that's one thing, it probably needs to be addressed with our ordinance. And as well as, I'd like to ask that there be, some sort of, inspections and permitting for, culverts. That way we can keep track of things in the town, as far in terms of drainage. A few points I'd like to bring up to possibly include, and that would be, 1/4 inch per foot slope for drainage. Possible elevation readings to the adjacent properties so that there's not disputes and problems between property owners that the culverts are dumping water on somebody else's property. And some sort of end result plan, whether it be a storm drain, tying into a sewer, something to like I said, that the water is not just being dumped off of somebody else. And of course, that would include pictures and documentation of that. I think would be a good idea for the town going forward with any kind of growing issues with sewers and drainage and all of that. It'd give us a little bit more language in there, a little bit more something to go off of. There's very little in the existing culvert ordinance right now. So, and that was based off of also what Village has for their ordinance. Their ordinance for drainage is about 6 pages long. We have like a couple paragraphs. So it's a big difference. And that language and what's included in that.
Okay. Do you have a list of proposed changes that you've already kind of highlighted and found? So that we could address that and create the ordinance that would need to make the changes that are necessary for you to.
Yeah, I could include that in an email to everyone, so that way everyone gets a copy of it,
Okay,
if that's okay.
the other, I have spoken with him, and one of the other things that is in here. Is it adds. It is recommended that parties request the advice of the Burns Harbor Street Commissioner. Which that is not him, he's the building commissioner, before making said installation. And should such facility be inadequate or require replacement. I've also talked to the street commissioner, who's. Okay with this being something that's handled by the building department and feels it's probably more appropriate. I don't know how everybody else's thoughts around that, but I do happen to agree with that, especially if he's gonna be doing inspections.
Yeah.
That the consultation should come through the building department and skip that stuff with the street department.
I understand.
I think it's asking our citizens to consult two different people and get two different conflicting opinions in potential situations, so. If you want to forward any recommendations you have to me, I can make sure it's dispersed and we can start developing an ordinance that once we get a draft of it. Then we can move forward with potentially adopting it. Okay. You have anything else on that?
Nope, that's it.
I have a quick question, not about that, but about permits and portage. Should we make any headway with the discussion you talked about having with them in regards to inspections at the steel mill?
They informed me that they're getting ready to request all of their team and things. And they can keep me in the loop on that, when they do that, and Chester can have operates or the same thing.
Okay, good. I just wanted to check where you were at with that.
Excuse me, can you use the mic so we can hear what's going on?
Well,
I would appreciate it, please.
I'll address that right now. So with that, that concludes our new business. So at this point, it would be good of the order any other business. So if there's somebody that would like to talk.
Jeremy, sorry, are we going back to the Mr. Anaya? I know that he is not here, but is there any update on his progress and what's
Yes.
going on? Like, I just don't wanna overlook a deadline that we set.
Okay, yeah, I went and tried to talk to him to let him know that, make sure he understood that he has to come here, to the planning commission and give an update. So he knew about the date, place, the time, all of that. I went to meet him, with Jack McGraw, and, to see the progress and update on his property there. And upon doing so, we found that he cut all the load bearing rafter tails on the roof from both sides of the house. At that point, I told him that he needs to stop all work and he needs to get a licensed contractor and fix that issue with the roof before anything else happens. I've got pictures of this, documentation of this, things that I can present, if anybody wants to see it. He called us back to the building department where I printed out a list of contractors to make sure that we had plenty of contractors to choose from, and that he was made aware that it would have to be a contractor that's licensed per town. So he had all of the information there. I followed up with him before this, just to see where he was at with it. And he had told me that he was meeting a contractor. And that he would update me when I talked to this contractor. And that was about a week ago, and nothing since then. So I went back out to the property and I noticed the upper level gable window that is secured with tie-back, and it had been cut and put back. And I heard voices on the property, and I went up to try to knock on the door, walked around the house and discovered that it was a radio left on and that there's additional building materials inside the house. Which definitely point to him doing something there. But he has not contacted us, he's not gotten back to us on taking care of the roof or what his plans are with that. And at this point, it's very unsafe. There's nothing attaching that roof to the house. That's what your rafters do. So there's a big concern with that.
Thanks for everything. What do
Just to
we-
be clear, stop the work order was issued, I assume.
Yes, yes. Yeah, we close it. It's posted out. I do have a chronological history of the violations reports. If anyone wants to see it, they're put together in the very beginning since 2009.
Can you tell me that?
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
So under good of the order, any other business, if anyone would like to speak, I'm gonna need you to come to the podium. There's a microphone so that everybody can hear you. I am gonna need your name and address when you speak.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
My name is Dr. Alexander Stoner. I'm a member of the Town Council of New Acres, your neighbor. And I wanted to express our extreme interest and concern about this project. I wanted to be assured that there is a place that we could be notified of when this next town hall meeting will be. So we can further discuss this very controversial, potentially damaging issue. So will there be a place to sign up so we're notified when the final date is selected? And my address is 46 East Road in Duneland.
Thank you, sir. Jim. I assume our next meeting is gonna be advertised. It'll be on our website. We'll make sure that we put it out for our
Social media.
Facebook, social media, of the date, time, and the potential location. There's additional. I don't know if this venue is gonna be available each and every time that we need it. We're kind of at the mercy of that. However, I understand that our fire department meeting room that will not meet the capacity of this crowd. However, we are moving into cooler weather where there has been town hall style meetings at the fire department inside the garage. I think that's another option now that we're getting into weather that wouldn't be 100 degrees and make people miserable. That was why that last meeting couldn't be held in there, because putting all of you in a 95-degree room wouldn't have worked very well. So I think the venue is a question, but it'll obviously be advertised. We'll meet any requirements. We'll make sure that we reach out to both the Town of Burns Harbor residents page as well as any neighborhood pages that we can reach out to once there is a known date and time. Jill, what is the date of the next regularly scheduled planning commission?
October 7th.
Okay, so as of right now, the next regularly scheduled meeting is October 7th. That meeting, depending on, I guess it's to be determined. Correct. The location is gonna depend on what's on our agenda. If none of this zoning or data center related items are on there, I think we would have to determine whether or not there would be a crowd that would require us to spend taxpayer dollars to rent a room that may have 2 people in it. But if we're gonna have this on the agenda, we will definitely make certain that we have a venue that can handle at least this capacity. So with that, no, I'm sorry, hold on.
Are we going to have, he's talking about having a town meeting with citizens, are we gonna have that before the planning commission meeting, or it can be after?
I believe the meeting that he's speaking of is a meeting that would be put on by his company. It would not be a Town of Burns Harbor event. So that would be up to them. I assume they would reach out to our town to supply up the information, date, time, and location, and we would assist in advertising so that anybody that has questions can attend and answer those questions. But that is not going to be a Town of Burns Harbor event, but it will be, I assume, a question and answer situation as well as an information gathering. So I wish I did more. I wish I had a concrete date and time, but I don't have that at this time.
Hi, my name is Mary Davis. I live at 1217 Banquet Street and have been a resident of the project for 6.5 years. I had something written out, but with the change in what Provident has done, I have chicken scratch, so bear with me. First and foremost, I would like to state up front that I am not against data centers. But I am 100% against placing a data center anywhere near a residential area. I would like to take this time to discuss the petition, Provident gave the Burns Harbor Advisory Plan Commission. I would like to state that I feel the petition presented is weak, poorly written, and leaves out many important things that will protect our community. In the petition, Provident states that there will be no impact that will negatively affect our property values. They also state that the proposed use will, in no measurable way, alter the essential character of the area, and the proposed use will not frustrate or infringe on the use or enjoyment of neighboring properties. My concern is that the illusion they are presenting will not be the outcome they are going to provide. That is why they only give you a concept rather than a complete detailed plan. Many other communities have faced the problem of, quote, not getting what was proposed, unquote. Because when these facilities were actually built, rules were ignored, and now the communities are in legal battles with these facilities. Do we want to get in a legal battle with a multi-million-dollar company, a company who does this for a living and can afford to keep us in court until we go bankrupt and no longer fight? This happened to other communities, and it can happen to us too. Do not destroy our community just because they are dangling the food tax dollars over our heads. I am asking the commission tonight to listen to the community and deny the whole process. Please protect our property values from dropping, protect our health, protect our peace, and preserve what little bit of sanctuary we have at this town. The property is zoned residential, and I ask you to keep it that way. And further note, just from listening to talk, if the town code states that you cannot make special zoning for future projects, then this should automatically be voted down and denied. Period. There is nothing to debate because there is no way they can make this work without making a special zone. Thank you for your time.
Not taking all about it.
I think you have to come up here. My name is.
You have to sign up. You have to sign in this, right?
Okay, so to respond, there was a sign-in list. I didn't know that there wasn't gonna be a public hearing that was conducted when I got here today. That was not to my knowledge. My agenda has a public hearing for Provident Realty advisors, and then it's a zoning district and rezoning of parcel. That's what's on my agenda.
Rezoning.
When this gentleman's done, if you'd like to come to the podium and speak, we'll gladly hear you, sir.
Sure will.
Okay, again, I'm Neil Stout, 209 Trail Creek Drive. And I believe that you may want to recalibrate your dates. The attorney for Provident has said they wouldn't be ready for the town meeting that they will host until early October. Presumably, we want to wait until that was done so that they could digest what they got and then come back with their list of, well, let's do this and let's do that. Because if we come back here early October, they're just going to continue it again. It's kind of like an insurance company waiting for an old man like myself to die before they make their payout. This is a calculated project, calculated to get this group of citizens, all concerned, like we all are, to shrink just because they don't. In case you don't know, I am not for a hyperscale data center like that. I'm not opposed to a data center. Microsoft and Amazon seem to be a little bit more forthcoming because they know they're going to be the people running and using it. We don't know who's going to have this. As soon as you guys pass any kind of enabling ordinances and any zoning changes, they're going to sell this property faster than you can shake a stick at. And if you don't have the provisions in there
that deny foreign ownership, that require noise, visual, all kinds of protections, measurements and everything. That it's going to, we'll lose control. Yeah, and so I am not against a data center. I'm against a 120-foot tall abomination 50 feet from my house. So with that, I will yield. to my friend.
I'm gonna finish where I started.
Can you give us her name and address?
Hi, James Constantine, 252 Haggard Road. Now, your rules, where do you live?
What's that?
Your address. You want my address? What's your address?
My address is 219 Fairchild Drive in Burns Harbor.
Okay, where's that at, Burns Harbor?
It is approximately a quarter mile west of Babcock Road, just south of Old Porter Road.
Where the rest of you at? How close are you gonna live, how close is your property to Stanley Cohen, Castle, and Hackman Road?
Well, I'm on the south end of town. I mean, that's clear.
Exactly, you're not gonna be affected by this. Give me one legal reason why you can't make a motion to turn down, decline changing the rezoning of that property, make a vote and let us know where you stand on it. They quit wasting our time.
Pretty obvious, we don't want it.
Okay. Do you want me to answer? I don't want to interrupt you, but do you want me to answer or?
Yes, why can't you make a motion right now to decline rezoning?
Okay, simply put for me is, I feel like anybody that comes before any board should have the opportunity to be able to actually give a clear answer of what it is that they're looking at. I also think that whether or not this is the proper development for this community, that will be determined and voted on by this board, and then subsequently it'll be up to the town council to make a decision after that, because as you know, we're an advisory board and we don't make any final decision, okay? In addition, I think that we tried to make it clear in the first meeting that whether or not this data center gets built in our town, not having an ordinance that addresses how we would restrict things opens the door to the next developer to come and create the same scenario, instead of having an answer when they look at our town code and say, oh, this setback, this size, this everything. So if we say it has to be a setback to residential of this distance, then we have the opportunity to set that in our town code. If not.
Is it not already set a zone to be residential, single family in that area?
Well, so that addresses that piece of property, okay? But what I'm talking about is,
Why change it? If it's already zoned, why change it?
I'm not saying that it should be changed.
That's
Okay,
what this whole thing's about.
well,
They want us to rezone it so they can dictate to us what they're gonna do.
would you like to let me finish or not?
You can answer you or just yell over.
I won't answer any more questions, then that's fine, if that's not what you want to hear. Go ahead, you can speak. Okay. I appreciate that, I'm sorry.
So, as you know, you've been involved in this town for a very long time.
Very
Okay.
long time.
If there's not so data center is not addressed in the town code, okay, because it's a newer type thing, I think we can all understand that. Many towns and municipalities have this problem. So there's two elements to this. There's the zoning district, which even if it's created, doesn't mean it's gonna go anywhere. Okay, but this is the conversation we're here having now. So the question is, do we go through, create a zoning district that meets the standards that we want it to meet? And then if anybody comes knocking on our door, it's gonna have to meet those standards. Or each and every time that somebody else fills out a petition and comes to this town, we're gonna be right back here with a new proposed zoning ordinance, a new request to rezone the property. And every time, there's gonna be 120 or 150 people that are mad at us.
If it's
When-
already zoned, why change it?
Again, if a property owner, or in this case, Provident is under contract with it, they have the option to be able to request to have a property rezoned, just like you do. If you wanted to rezone your property, and you fill out the proper petition, we would hear your request. Whether or not that would be granted is a whole other story, but we're not gonna make an emotional decision without seeing all the facts.
And none of you will take a stand and say which way you stand on, and we're wasting our time.
I won't take a stand on something that I don't have all the information.
Okay, thank you.
Are you juvenile?
Yes.
Don't give me your address. You can just give me your first name.
Thank you.
Orlando.
You put it here, no.
Yeah.
My name is Dominic Orlando, and I family and I are 100% against the ordinance and petition to allow for data centers in Birds Harbor. I'm here to tell you one of the many reasons why my dad is so passionate about this. I have a history of epilepsy. Luckily, I have not had an episode in several years. Although I have not had an episode in years, that does not mean it can be triggered again. Some people with epilepsy can experience seizures triggered by certain sounds or stimuli, and I am afraid that this might trigger seizures for me again. Sleep deprivation is a common trigger for seizures in many people with epilepsy. Lack of sleep can disrupt normal brain functioning, potentially leading to increased abnormal electrical activity that may trigger seizures. Sleep deprivation and poor sleep quality can decrease seizures thresholds in people with epilepsy, resulting in poor seizure control. Now, let me tell you that a little bit about Dr. John Liver. Dr. Liver has an extensive and accomplished background in science, engineering, and public service. He has a master's of science in electronic and computer engineering, a master of science in computational science and informatics, a PhD in computational sciences and informatics, a PhD in computational physics. He worked at NASA for 35 years. He focused on safety analysis of nuclear materials for space missions. He's a retired U.S. Navy lieutenant commander. Like you, he served the planning commission for Prince William County. To summarize, he is really, really smart. Dr. Library talks about the low frequency noise from data centers can travel long distances, potentially affecting residents far from the source. Low frequency sound waves are highly resilient and can penetrate buildings more easily than high frequency noise. It is often felt as vibrations rather than heard, which can be especially disruptive to sleep. If the zoning is approved, we will have to put our house up for sale. I love my neighborhood, I love my friends, I love my school, and I love playing basketball at Chestnut High School. I don't want to move. This isn't something to take lightly, and I hope you all have done your homework and read my dad's emails. Those emails are designed to educate you, protect you, and protect your neighbors. Please keep in mind when you make a decision. I will end my statement with this. Neighbors want good neighbors. Hyperscale data centers should never be built within a mile of homes, schools, teachers, or parks. These should also be built 3 to 5 miles away from national and state parks. We will never support this or any other future data center project in this town.
Out number 357 Maryland. Before the first meeting was ever held, I turned in the 50 questionnaire sheet of what my concerns were with this data center. None of those questions have been addressed. It's the same questions these people are answering. The other thing I have is that 30% of the data centers, at least 30% of the data centers in the United States at this point in time are owned by the Chinese. I have no idea how many are owned by the Russians. And from what I understand, talking to, and the sites I go on to online, within the next 3 to 5 years, we're possibly going to be at war with China. Do you want your data hacked? I don't. The other problem I have with this data center is that if they spend, according to Indiana law, if they spend up to $750 million, they can get a tax rebate, whatever you want to call it, but they don't have to pay taxes for 25 years. If they spend over 750, and they're talking 1.2 billion on this data center, so that'll give them a tax break for 50 years. We will not see a dime out of that money. Is it, the town only gets what, 3% taxes from that, as we tear everything in, so we get back is 3%. We won't see a dime. I haven't come and say anything about what they're gonna do for this town, other than screw people. Our fire department is not able to go and, they wanna build a 120-foot building. We don't have a fire engine. Nobody in this area has a fire engine that can go and reach that height of that building. We are not able to fight that type of electrical fire in that building. Howard has, I said, always, oh, this fancy, fire system in there. Who's gonna maintain it? Who's gonna inspect it? You're already saying you're not gonna allow our fire department in there to take a look at it and see what's going on with the maintenance. That's a bunch of bull. That's the same thing that the like she pulled in the mill. We didn't quit checking things and let it all go to hell. My son's a firefighter out in the mill, and all they've been doing for the last year and a half is playing catch up. That's a bunch of bull.
Oh, my name is Mick Anguy.
Yeah, I can hear you, sir.
Did I?
I told you to close them up.
Oh, no.
I think it's further off. There you go.
How about now?
There you go. There you go.
You did it too much. I had earlier, is it Providence, Realty, where are you from? Texas. Seems to me like you guys got 8 times more property in Texas than we do. I don't know why the hell you would bring it up here, up with a nice small community. I don't see where anybody gets benefit from this. And I would like to have a courage, see how much of what kind of courage the panel has. Who up there is for this? I raise a hand. Who was against it? I think that's a lot. I don't think we'll have to consider that.
Not for rezoning the property, residential, or any kind of business. It's been.
Oh, it's the same gentleman, I'm not getting there, it's gonna be one time. That lied to the people in this country for decades, if not centuries, and it's nothing new.
Like Larry said, we have to have something in our books to address businesses like
I
this.
agree, earlier you said we're an advisory board, we can't vote on this. Who will make the final decision on it?
Okay, so I did say we're an advisory board. We do vote whether or not to approve it, but the final approval is not ours. So
Who did what is the final decision?
the town council is, that's exactly what I stated earlier. So when it leaves this board, whether it leaves with a favorable or a non-favorable or no recommendation, from there it will move on to the town council. And then they will make the decision.
I just think it's a travesty. Mr. Lee, as far as I'm concerned, go back.
No, he's from Belmont. He's from Belmont.
Good evening, I'm Bill Herring. I'm the property at 1232 Castle. Ground zero of this proposed abomination.
Could you speak up a little bit, please?
I think it's a pretty critical point we're at with SB8. If it's not completely abandoned, it has to be so modified, you wouldn't recognize it for what it is today. Everything that was in the petition that you were given has been adopted in SB8, which is pretty confusing. If you find out that the things that need to be done with a data center of this type, because there are 4 levels of data centers. Some are as innocuous as a little office building. The casual observer would go by and say they wouldn't even know it's a data center. That's what a lot of people are familiar with, and that's what you keep seeing people talk about. Oh, they're no big deal. Hyperscale data centers are the 4th level of data centers. They're the top of the food chain. If you've read anything about what's been done out in St. Joe County with AWS, it's about 5 miles from South Bend, 2 miles south of New Carlisle rather, and it's on 600 acres of farmland, it's nowhere near any major roads and no residential. So, you know, when you talk about this being on top of homes that are already 80 years ago, built 80 years ago, and have been residential for the last 34 years, as I understand on this parcel. Before that, you know, and still it's farmland. And you're gonna squeeze it in right next to all the residential, right across the street from your crown jewel of the Lakeland Park. I just can't even imagine you're even giving this any consideration. I understand. Understanding SDA is this imaginary thing we're building in case a data center were to come to town, but they're talking about a specific parcel. It's a different thing. They don't have a site plan, they have a concept plan. And the concept plan is a nice set of pastel drawings with people walking along sidewalks in front of the tall building. Well, that's BS on a surface because they're already telling you the whole thing is going to be secured with fencing all around it. No fences there. The only thing missing from their drawings is a little girl with a lemonade stick, a rainbow, and a unicorn. I think you got to understand there's noise involved, noise pollution, light pollution, and odors and hazardous pollution when you turn on the generators that have to do the backup. This thing is going to be so lit up at night, it's going to look like a football stadium playing a night game. The only thing is, instead of aimed in, it's going to be aimed out because it's for security. You're going to see it with satellites from space. Now think about this. This is a pretty unbelievable situation that you guys have gotten this far into SBA and don't have any of the basic requirements for controlling and restricting and abating any of the things that this thing is going to generate. I just can't believe you've gotten this far. So please do your homework. Please don't let them scam you into this because it's not right.
I'm sorry.
Is your Linda?
She's saying her name.
Oh,
Hi, my name is Israel Linda, and my family and I are 100% against the ordinance and the position to allow for data centers in Barks Harbor. I asked my parents one day, if so many people are against the data center, why don't we just tell them no? If someone were to offer me a cigarette, alcohol, or drugs, I would tell them no. Then my parents told me it's complicated. Blah, blah, procedures, blah, blah, politics, blah, blah, lawyers. They were going on about how people need to watch what they say and who they talk to. I was running my eyes so hard I could see my brain. Hey, hi, my name is Izzy Orlando and I love my house, my backyard, my school, and my friends. I am not one of you just because a big company wants to come in here and ruin my town. If you grown-ups think you guys are gonna see this ordinance through, think again. You're messing with my family, my friends, and my future. Who knows, maybe I'll go to my dad and start posting this stuff about on TikTok and Instagram. Maybe I'll start researching zoning codes and laws and tell you why this does not make any sense. In the meantime, be grown-ups and listen to the public. They give you cheat codes to this game. Neighbors want good neighbors. Hyperscale data centers should never be built within a mile of homes, schools, churches, or parks. These should also be built 3 to 5 miles away from national and state parks. We'll never support this or any further data center projects in our town.
no. Hey, sir, no, we're not gonna do this, okay? Listen, here's the deal. This isn't even a public hearing, okay? So you're gonna be at the next public hearing and you're gonna have an opportunity to talk there too, okay? You spoke 3 times, nobody had that opportunity the last time. Let's give everybody a chance.
This is a free country. I guess not, right?
My name is Jerry Brown, President of Ice Wall. It's handed my own resolution as I came in. I assume you read it. There's nothing wrong with data centers. Is that what you want to say? Data centers are necessary mostly because of all the data that's been handled previously. But when AI kicks in, or cryptocurrencies, or anybody else using extended data, I should know how it works with data analysis. Then it will jump exponentially how much needs to be handled and processed so that these expanding companies, whether they be military or not, will need extra power. When they do that, we need lots of places to put. I'm against this location. We've taken pictures of things in other states where they spread it out for hundreds of acres. And the low frequency problems are still there, but it's not an area that's residential anymore. It's not an area where you want to grow anything anymore. It's not a place where you have wildlife anymore. So it's like a dead zone now, but it's spread out. Really want to put a dead zone in the middle of your city? I mean, look how long it took for them to regulate refineries and the mills. Well over 100 years. Now they have to change their processes, filter and protect people that are within a targeted area around their businesses. Am I shocked that Worthington Steel doesn't care about their workers that are already in the plant in your city? No. Am I shocked that Praxair and Liddy and Cleveland Cliffs, everybody else, US Steel, we got their own problems? I'm shocked they're not worried about their workers. Do they think they can just shield them outside with more hearing protection and noise protection and filtered masks? No, they can't protect them. You know, you're putting your people into a world of hurt. And why? Because they told you a story and you'd like to hear about the money, because any sane person would do that in your situation. I understand that. But it's not good long term. They don't last long. I think Burns Harbor already is probably the highest per capita industrial area in all of Indiana. For the few thousands you have here compared to the vast acreage. And I know that a large part of your budget is from the steel mills alone, 75%. Do you really want to chase them out of here? Because you're going to do this monstrous data center. Please reconsider. Thank you.
My name is Ted Orlando, live at 1149 Gustafson Lane in Burns Harbor. I got a few handouts for you guys that I want to have recorded in the minutes. Am I able to do that since this is just a bit of the public or whatever you guys call this?
Okay, hold on a second. How long is this document that you're wanting to add to our minutes?
You guys have an email, so you can just copy and paste. I've also dropped.
It's something I already have.
Well, I want to submit it as part of the minutes. You guys aren't gonna be able to go through it because this ordinance is a lot different than the ordinance that you guys have in front of you, the sign and ready to go. So let's take a look first at the town of Burns Harbor, where it's got the logo of Burns Harbor on it. This is the SDA that's on their table, ready to be passed on to the commission. These guys are very familiar with it, they don't need a copy of it, they looked at it many times. On page 7, we've got the names of the council ready to sign this thing. This thing smells like rotten fish. This is the worst petition and ordinance that's trying to protect their residents that I've ever seen. Again, I've asked the question many times, nobody's answered the question, who wrote the ordinance and who helped draft the ordinance? How does it get this far where you guys could have had this on August 14th, the council could have had this on August 14th to sign and ready to go and put us in a really bad situation? Nobody did their homework. Probably tried to take advantage of us and put this pile of garbage in your laps. And how you guys cannot just pass this on today and see what it is and just deny it at the next commission meeting, I can't believe it at the council meeting. How can you guys not deny this piece of garbage? Let me read some of this stuff from a real ordinance, which is not perfect, but it's much better than the ordinance that you guys have. This is the ordinance from Branson, Missouri. These guys have had emails, the council's emails, other towns have had emails. I've been sending emails to everyone. These guys are so sick and tired of my emails, but they won't stop until these guys go away. Okay? This one, you guys don't have to read it. I'll highlight some of the things that were blatantly either left out or not mentioned at all. Okay? So the first thing is, I would want these data centers to be 1 to 2 miles away from residential, 3 to 5 miles from national parks, state parks. And guess what that does, guys? That doesn't allow them to build it. I like that ordinance. Let's see what else they have. All definitions to be applied to usage chart as special usage or conditional usage because of the variables that come from these facilities. Permitted at right should never be allowed. I believe that's what we have in our ordinance. Buffer zones to contain a substantial 15 to 20 foot berms and screens. All right, so it's a long list. I'm going to be here for a little while. They give proper definitions of data centers. They talk about data centers, they talk about cryptocurrency, they talk about cryptocurrency data centers, they talk about commercial cryptocurrency mining. They talk about cryptocurrency server farms. Cryptocurrency is the worst, and we don't even have it mentioned in our ordinance, so they could technically build a cryptocurrency type of data center. Unless you guys correct me if I'm wrong in any of this analysis here. They also talk about sound pressure levels. Nowhere is this mentioned in our ordinance. They talk about sound pressure levels, means the sound pressure level stated in decibel units, reference to 20 micropascals with a C frequency rating and 10 microscop or MS response with peak detection for ANSI S for 2014. Again, I'm not an expert on this stuff, but it just seems like something we would want to add. It also talks about noise, which annoys or disturbs humans or causes intense an adverse psychological or physiological effect on humans. Noise disturbance, which means sounds which endanger or injure the safety of health of humans or animals. Noise that disturbs a reasonable person for normal sensitivities, endangers or injures persons of real property. Again, I don't see this anywhere in the thing you have in front of you that you can just pass on and deny. Industrial uses. Pollution from industrial construction is way different than pollution from residential construction. Way different. You're gonna have heavier machinery, you're gonna dig down deeper, you're gonna have a lot more dirt and everything to dig up in between. So just get used to that for three years, 2 years, however many months you're gonna be there. They talk about lighting. They have lighting ordinances. I don't even know if we have a lighting ordinance as part of our cycle. So why wouldn't we put a lighting ordinance in this special district? Doesn't make any sense. But again, you guys can continue this on and on. Again, I would change Branson's and say instead of a minimum of 500 distance setbacks, it would be a minimum of 1 to 2 miles. Lighting talks about photometric diagrams and all this technical stuff about 0.5 foot candles measured at 3 feet above the grade. Manufactured engineering non-residential unit. I think we do mention some of that in our ordinance. It also says all utility lines servicing the site and located on the subject property shall be contained underground. All data centers should be contained within a primary structure or main. On site, so sound and noise requirements. Do we mention noise one time in the SDA? Is noise mentioned one time? I couldn't find it, but if you guys find it, let me know. On-site monitoring of sound. The permit holder shall provide the city prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy or completion and an evident, and that includes the following information: name and qualifications of the person who measured the sound, pressure levels requiring a supervised wet stamp report by a qualified Missouri licensed professional engineer. Equipment use lists all the test results, equipment serial numbers, equipment settings, copy of the National Institute of Standards, and so on and so forth. Location of the noise measurements depicted on the scale site plan. The points of measurement shall be at the property lines and generally at the points on those property lines most susceptible to noise from the applicable equipment. Sound pressure levels at each property. Time and duration of measurements. A statement attesting to the accuracy and information provided by a guarantee that the permit holder will not run their equipment, including generators, at a greater sound pressure level than when the measurements were made. The one thing that these guys won't tell you about either is generators. These generators have to be tested at least once a week. If those things aren't given a proper schedule and readings as far as decibel levels, you guys are going to hear those generators kick off. But here's the thing, if they provide 1 to 2 mile setbacks from residential, you don't have to worry about any of this. The SPL attributes to infrastructures of the data center property shall not exceed what I would consider 60 dBCs as measured at all data center property. For the data centers located within a mile, any of the allowed residential use or district, place of worship, daycare, park, or educational facility, the SPL attribute of the facility shall not exceed 55 decibels at the data center property line from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and 50 dBCs from 5 p.m. to 9 a.m. That means it's going to be quieter at nighttime than during the day. Okay, but again, if we have proper setbacks, don't have to worry about it. I'm just highlighting all the things that were somehow missed in the current ordinance that Todd Leaf was able to bail you guys out of today and say, let's just push this on forward. Okay, so he bailed you out today, guys. But you guys could reopen this back up and maybe say, you know what, we misspoke. Let's actually push this on to the council so we can vote no. Confirmation of the utility agreement. Prior to the approval of special use permit, the applicant shall provide written verification from the utility provider stating the following: adequate capacity is available on the applicable supply lines and substation to ensure that the capacity available to serve the other needs of the planning area is consistent with the normal projected load growth envisioned by the utility. Utility supply equipment and related electrical infrastructure are sufficiently sized and can safely accommodate the proposed use. The use will not cause electrical interference or abnormal inline voltage on and off operating premises. An agreement that if power outages or power shortages occur, the data center will be secondary to all other uses within the city of Branson or surrounding properties. That means if the power goes out at the data center, you guys are going to be, or power goes out, you guys will be serviced first, data center second. Guess what they're going to do? They're going to say, no, we get power first because it's more important to get the data back up online. Oh, man, this is a lot of stuff that you guys missed. Confirmation of water availability. If water is used for cooling, the source and adequacy of the supply shall be provided. Changes in resources or data center expansion. If a change in resource occurs, a new special use permit shall be required for reevaluation. If the data center expansion is proposed, a new special use permit shall be required for reevaluation. Certain foreign adversaries shall be restricted from data centers within the city of Branson. Again, not in our ordinance. The determination of a foreign adversary shall be regulated by case basis and determined by the United States Department of State. All requirements related to noise and noise disturbance shall be considered for data centers. Modification of use. Any modifications to the data center site requirements must number of MUNU, location of menu. Again, I don't know what these things actually mean, but you guys are smart and I'm. Screening, lighting, sound, noise requirements, and utility requirements and application for the special use district. So again, the other question I wanted to ask you, maybe you guys can just raise your hands on this one. How many of you have visited a hyperscale data center? Yeah. I know I have. Okay, I visited several of them. And what I can tell you is that they are just big industrial complexes. And the fact that we're labeling this thing as light industrial is a complete joke. These things are heavy industrial. They're just big utility plants. You guys can see the pictures on here. Well, actually, this is not that's a different picture on the screen, but you guys can see the pictures over here. That's what these things look like. It looks like BP in mining. That's going to be in your backyard. And these things are not pretty. They'll have a couple pretty buildings scattered throughout the facility, but most of this stuff, if your ordinances aren't set properly, they're just going to be big industrial complexes with utility, with power lines, with substations, with power stations, cooling towers, you name it, it's going to be the ugly thing you've ever seen. So again, this is the ordinance that we have. This is what's on their table to vote on today. The fact that they are allowing Providence to again determine the calendar and not listen to the residents is ridiculous. These guys, but again, they're letting Providence, they're letting Providence control. Providence isn't even here today. This is their lawyer. They weren't even confident enough to fly in today. They don't want to spend the money because they knew there was going to be a big showing. But if we have to continue this, and you guys have to continue to get emails from me every single day and see different Facebook posts every single day, that's what we'll do. Thank you. I do have one more submission for the minutes. These are all the people that have signed no to the data center, and there's quite a bit of signatures that we have on here. So again, if you need any more proof of what to do, here's some more proof.
Yeah.
What is it?
Entertain a motion.
I got one.
No.
Word.
I have a question, I'm sorry, Elaine South, 209 Trail Creek. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't have very much, all I want to say is, today, is that we're all very frustrated because we can't get answers. This is a vast country. We have tons of undeveloped property. There's plenty of property in Indiana, even that's not developed. Why are they fighting like feral cats over this little piece of land in Burns Harbor? There's a ton of places they could go there, go to Valpo. It's a lot bigger, it's got a lot of money, it's not huge. So that's my question, and I think everybody had chew on for a while, is that why this little piece of land? This little piece of land is water. But I say that about water, but they've got these things in Chandler, Arizona, they have no water.
Who is the second?
What? They do have it here, I understand it, but they're building one in Valpo, and they built one in Monroe. They're all over the place. Why is there a tiny piece of it? That's all I got to say. Okay, it's sad, but we have that same.
I have a motion and a second. I honestly, this is, I guess my question is. We are hearing everything you have to say, and we're hearing, I'm honestly right now, because we have no new information. We're literally talking the same exact thing that we spoke about at the last meeting. I appreciate that everybody's still ramped up about this and here. But I guess my question is, what are we gaining from this? We don't have the information, like, so there was a request that we get more information. They're gonna have that meeting. And then I think once that all that information is available, this board could then make a decision having all of our information. But without it, we're stuck.
I don't want to make a decision on one night. I don't want to make a decision on one night when they show up with their plan. They were supposed to have it before this meeting.
Information is that we don't want anyone to think that we are done. That we're not very report, that we.
I understand that.
Didn't they already present, this is Providence presentation that they submitted that are public records. They already presented to these guys in July 8th.
Yeah.
They have this information.
Yeah.
This is their presentation. It's right here. Submit this as part of the minutes.
So you guys already get that.
Okay.
Public record.
Okay, so you've said a lot of things tonight, Mr. Orlando. You've said that we don't have a noise ordinance, which we have chapter 16 would apply to this. Okay, so you led all these people to believe that none of that would apply.
In STA, there is no noise ordinance specifically in
Okay.
STA.
Did you look through every zoning district? Is there a noise ordinance attached to?
It doesn't matter.
Like, actually it does, because it applies to any bordering residential property that would receive noise from any other district.
It's
So
not appropriate because they don't talk about DVCs, which are low, more sensitive to low frequency.
Right.
And they're not appropriate levels, because you wanna know what, when I sit over by the park and I get DVCs or DBAs, which is a different type of reading, it's sitting at about 50 at nighttime, which is very comfortable. What does the light industrial say? It says 59, which is not like 10% louder. It's about 10 times louder depending on the intensity, and about 2 times louder. Decibels are on a logarithmic scale. There's a huge
I'm
difference.
not gonna be able to appease you tonight, and we're not gonna make a decision without having everything. We've already made that motion. So on that note, I have a motion, I have a second. Is there any other discussion?
Right, she's been her education.
So is everybody else. So is there anybody else that is gonna want to speak tonight?
Really don't want to hear from us, do you?
Well, so we're talking about something when there's no decision.
Sit here all night if that's my thing. This is our lighting. Our house is.
I live here too. And I can't be.
Sit and listen quietly. And stay off your phones too. It's disrespectful as hell.
Yeah. We're getting. What's that? Roll call.
Roseanne Bozak, Travis Dunlap,
Yes.
Michelle Watkins.
Yes.
Gordon McCormick, Aaron Adcock,
Yes.
Bernie Copperod, Jeremy McCarg.
Yes.
Shame on you.
I'll gladly stick around and listen to what you have to say. Yeah. Here's what it is. Have a great night.